Very good afternoon to all of you, my dear students. Today we will be interacting about your for course 9, the novel Color Purple, written by Alice Walker. Mm, Alice Walker. So let us have first the brief outline, the life and literary career of Alice Walker as a black woman novelist. We'll be interacting about the major influences, the major factors that influences her. So, my dear students, this novel, The Color Purple, was written in 1982 by Alice Walker. It was written in epistolary form. In 1983, this novel won Pulitzer Prize. It's a feminist work. Alice Walker. Alice Walker was born on 9th February 1944 to Willie Lee and Minnie Grant. Walker, who were sharecroppers in the small southern town Etonton, Georgia. Many of Walker's short stories, poems, and novels have the South as their setting. She refers to the injustice, violence, and brutality of the South against the blacks and admires the resilience of the blacks in hoping for change. Alice Walker was the youngest of 8 children. Her parents had 5 boys and 3 girls. Of the 5 brothers, Walker states that she only knew 4 because one brother had left home when she was barely 3 years of age. At the age of 8, Alice Walker was partially blinded in one eye by a pellet from her brother's BB gun that accidentally hit her. Although the scar was removed through a simple operation 6 years later, Walker suffered immense emotional and psychological isolation because of it. She says about this incident, I believe that it was from this period, from my solitary, loneliness position, the position of an outcast, that I began really to see people and things, really to notice relationship and to learn to be patient enough to care about how they turned out. I no longer felt like the little girl I was. I felt, and because I felt I was unpleasant to look at filled with the same, I retreated into solitude and read stories and began to write poems. Ironically, it is due to this injury that she was eligible for a scholarship to Spelman College, a black women's school in Atlanta. She entered this college in 1961. When Walker left it, Eatonton, Georgia, for Spelman College in Atlanta, where she was for 2.5 years. She says, I deliberately sat in front stage sections of Greyhound bus. A white woman complained to the driver. He, big and rat and ugly, ordered me to move. I moved, But in those seconds of moving, everything changed. I was eager to bring an end to the South that permitted my humiliation. According to Mary Washington, while leaving for school, Walker's mother gave her three gifts: a suitcase, a typewriter, and a sewing machine that she said had a symbolic among the Indians living in America. There were between 1,000 to 2,000 languages and as many cultures. However, at the time of European contact, there were some 300 cultural groups who spoke over 200 languages. These were further reduced to about 150 by middle of the 20th century. The surviving language have been classified into 42 language families. Some of the Indian languages such as Olmec, Maya, and Chapotec developed their own writing system. They used ideographic glyphs comparable to ancient Egyptian and Chinese writing system. The Mayas produced paper books known as codices, which can be folded like a screen. The largest of these codices is called the Madrid Codex, which measured 23 feet with 56 leaves. Each leaf was 9 inch into 5 inch. We shall discuss later how highly the Indians regarded the word. Speech for them was as vital as breath. So, my dear students, this novel enables you to be strong enough. It enables you to face the situations and react to it. And react to that situation. Chief characteristics of black women's fiction. The theme of search for identity, express itself in the form of a journey which is sometimes inward and sometimes outward. For example, Harriet Jacob Incidents of the Life of a Slave Girl. The journey is from the plantation back to Edenton, from North Carolina to New York City and Boston, and from Boston to England and back. In the novelist novel, The Color Purple, the journey of for Sally is from silent objective speaking subject. The journeys are also expressions of the search for the African American women's spirit that has not been destroyed by racism and sexism. In Hurston, the eyes were watching God. Jenny Crawford journeys from her West Florida home to from Eatonville to Florida Everglades, the Muck, and back to Eatonville. The form of journey is also linked to the concept of mobility. Most black women writers talk about mobility because, in the context of slavery, this mobility was restricted. What does feminism mean? In the US, the contemporary feminist movement has popularly been identified with a movement defined by white middle class, college educated women. Betty Friedan, The Feminine Mystic 1963, is often cited as the first book of what is called the second wave of feminism. It was a work around which many white women of this socioeconomic class rallied as it expressed their frustrations and being excluded from the positions of privilege and power occupied by white males in American society. It also hits a nerve with women who are wrinkled by seniors within their families or personal lives. Within their families or personal lives. To vastly oversimplify, the goal of feminism became to eliminate sexist oppression imposed by the patriarchal society, which it was thought would end discrimination against women on the job, in the home, and in all areas of women's lives. Equality of opportunity was the objective and sexism was the enemy. This often got translated into men are the enemy, which made many women uneasy and men defensive. Uneasy and men defensive. Equality, to vastly oversimplify, the goal of feminism became to eliminate sexist oppressions imposed by the patriarchal society, which it was thought would end discrimination against women on the job, in the home, and in all areas of women's lives. Equality of opportunity was the objective and sexism was the enemy. This often got translated into men are the enemy, which made many women uneasy and men defensive. In fact, the women's movement seemed to interpret quality of opportunity to mean the achievement of parity or better with white middle or upper class men. For a number of regions, black women did not see this as addressing their concerns. My dear students, one of the basic issues that divides feminists is whether they consider the goal to be reform of the present social system or its revolution. One of the basic issues that divides feminists is whether they consider the goal to be reform of the present social system or its revolution. And it is on this point that black feminists and mainstreams of the white feminist movement are diverged. Frances Dales, 1970, in her essay Double Jeopardy, to be black and female, is only one of the many black feminists who has criticized the women's movement for its limited purpose. She says any white group that does not have an imperialist and anti-racist ideology has absolutely nothing in common with the black women's struggles. Bill 1970 to 1998, black women and men, along with other minority groups, understand that equal opportunity with white male power allies is not only out of reach for the majority of the population, but also is not going to alter an oppression system in any significant way. Feminism is not, she says, about dressing for success or becoming a corporate executive or taking skilling, vacations, or the career marriages. Defines liberation as gaining social equality with ruling class white men. They have a vested interest in the continued exploitation and operation of others. Because black women are on the margins of the whole system, Hooks argues they have a special vantage point from which to criticize the dominant racist, classist, and sexist hegemony as well as to imagine and create a system that does not rely on operations of the segment of populations for the benefit of another. So, my dear student, throughout the history of the women's movement, throughout the history of women's movement in United States of America, there have been women black and white who have objected to the limited, however valid focus on sexism and patriarchy as the cause of women's position in society. Moreover, working women of all races and ethnic backgrounds felt the effects of classism. But either because racial or class discriminations were not experienced by white middle class women or because they themselves were unwilling to give up the privilege accruing to them by virtue of their class, women were either ignored or rejected as important targets for feminists. White feminists were eager for black women to join the movement and seemed perplexed that they were not eager to do so. Black women, however, were as a group unwilling to ally themselves with white women in opposition to black men, who, in spite of their sexist behaviors, were closer in identity to them than white middle class women. Various studies have shown that class differences are greater than differences between the sexes within the same class. Feminism and ideology of individualism. As all of us know, the cult of individualism is especially pronounced in American society. Americans pride themselves on the individual initiative, while the ideology of individualism has no doubt been responsible for much American innovation and personal achievement. It, like all ideology, has its blind spots and proponents of individualism ignore the unequal access that minorities and working class people have to economic, educational, and social opportunities. Bell Hooks has noted that ideology of competition, atomistic liberal individualism has permeated feminist thought to such an extent that it undermines the potential radicalism of feminist struggle. One of the promises not questioned by early leaders of the white feminist movement was how American women accepted the same materialistic and individualistic values as did American men. It simply did not occur to them that women may be just as reluctant as men to struggle for a new society based on new values of mutual respect, cooperation, and social responsibilities. The ideology of individualism also was well adopted to the feminist model of the new woman. Assertive, capable, strong, the leap tall building superwoman. Assertive, capable, strong, the leap tall building superwoman image that the movement wished to project. An image that has incidentally caused untold grief for women who found they could not live up to it. Another unfortunate consequence has been to reinforce the myth of Amazonic black women, strong, nurturing, uncomplaining, and all accepting, which has contributed to the acceptance by both white and black males of the theory of black matriarchy, and that the myth that the black woman next to the white male is the most liberated member of society. The white women's movement, no doubt unwittingly, has contributed to this myth by highlighting the achievement of exceptional black women as they were representative of what all black women could aspire to within a reformed system. Walker associates writing with magic. Alice Walker associates writing with magic. This is not surprising because for several black literary authority was associated with a Christian God or white people. Therefore, many delved into their African American roots, which included shamanism, animism, and voodoo. In 1899, Charles Wedley Chestnut in The Conjure Woman 1899 brought out of the magic of black folk life. Zora Neale Hudson went a step further and collected black lies of folk's tale and included them in Mules and Men in 1935. Several black women writers were influenced by these ideas. Walker says in The Color Purple, I thank everybody in this book for coming. With this ending note to the novel, Walker creates a literary tradition in which several black women who were unable to express themselves through writings because of the historical moment of slavery in which they lived are acknowledged. This is one way she brings together her ancestors who were denied the right to read and write. So, this is one way she brings together her ancestors who were denied the right to read and write. But now we find that our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi is saying, Beti Padhao, Beti Bachao. But this is one way she brings together her ancestors who were denied the right to read and write in search of our mother's garden, she writes. Yet so many of the stories that I write, that we all write, yet so many of the stories that I write, that we all write, are my mother's stories. By associating her writing with magic, Walker is also reaching out to her African American roots, which goes deeper than any politics, race, or geographical locations. She therefore, like women writers, like the Bronte sisters, Kate, Chopin, Simone, Devier, and Doris Lessing, Walker states that she was influenced by Russian, Greek, African, and Asian literatures. However, the black women writer, Zora Neale Hurston, is whom she calls her literary progenitor. Walker was struck by her sense of self in Zora Neale Hurston, a cautionary tale and Persian view. She refers to her as a cultural revolutionary who gave us racial health, a sense of black people as complete, complex, undiminished human beings. It was after reading Hurston that Alice Walker felt that black people should be connected to each other as a community. Apart from Hudson, Walker acknowledged Rebecca Jackson, Phyllis Whitley, and Ida B. Wells Bennett as the first African American feminist in the country who had an impact on her. She also lists other writers among the many who influenced her. Russians, Greeks, Africans, Asians, and such Americans, black and white, as Jean Toomer, Arna Bontemps, Emily Dickinson, Robert Graves, William Carlos Williams, E. E. Cummings, and Flannery O'Connor. So, my dear friends, if the question comes on this, discuss the significant milestone in the history of black women's fiction. or how is the Black women movement differed from the mainstream women's freedom in America, or what are some of the significant influence on Alice Walker. So discuss with various aspects of Black feminism. So it may be there may be a short questions on this that you must be ready to write.